Hello and welcome to another episode of the Complete Agent Podcast, where each week we get together to talk all things estate agency. My name is Dave Warburton. This week I'm joined only by Ian Storey. How you doing, pal?
Good, mate. Thank you. Very well.
Good. JK and Michelle can't make today. I think JK's actually, where's he gone? He's on holiday, but some of the local.
I think he's going somewhere nicer in a few weeks, a lot nicer.
Yes.
So it's going to be quite a contrast for him.
Yes, indeed. And Michelle can't make today, so it's a northern episode. So apologies for all you southerners listening who can't tell what we're saying. But we'll do our best. Ian, in our unusual tradition, how has your week been, my friend?
Very good. Thank you. Very good. Our new senior valuer, Vicky, started off on her own vals about 3 weeks ago, something like that. She did a couple before she went on holiday. She had 10 days away. She came back middle of last week and she's been out and she's doing really well. I think she's put 4 or 5 on since she got back, something like that, all on our fees. Matt also doing well. Matt was also away. So me, Vicky and Matt were away around the same sort of time at the start of the month. So Matt's back into it as well. And I've had a couple myself. I'm doing less valuations now than I was, which is good with me. So I've got more time to focus on growing the biz. That's my sort of plan for the rest of this year. So overall, listings are good. Sales are also good. I think we've sold something like 12 or 13 so far this month. And obviously we don't sell lower end stuff. So that's all mid to higher end on the right kind of fees. And Phil is negotiating a couple more that he thinks he'll get into the pipe this week as well. So overall, things are in good shape. It's summer holidays now, so we've not booked quite as many vals this week as I would like to, but it is summer holidays, so we know obviously a lot of people are away, which you have to factor in. But overall, Dave, I'm happy with where things are at, mate. Currently,
good.
How about yourself?
Yeah, very, very similar, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I suppose it doesn't feel it's been quieter, for sure. It's been really, really busy. I feel like it's back to the wall sometimes. But, we've done, this month, we have done 8 secondary sales, which I would say that your houses on the market. But we've got our new build sites that I've spoken about before. So that's 11 luxury homes. And they've really started to kick off now. I'll probably delve into that a little bit because I think new build sites comes up quite a bit in our group and how to market them and things like that. And we have had 7 reservations on that in the last 2 weeks. It's really gone full steam ahead on that, which is great. So 15 sales. We've done 12 instructions. Fees are really good. So yeah, very, very good. I have to say it's been a good, consistent year so far. But it's consistent output, and we're getting the benefits of that. I think obviously the market has been a little bit more challenging. There's no question about that, in the sense that there's more properties on the market now than at any other time in the last 12 years. Prices are perhaps not what they were, and that's a challenge for a lot of homeowners and estate agents who've got sticky stock. There's a lot of property out there. But I have to say, I think there's a difference between sort of a bad market where people are not actually buying houses and a bad market where houses are dropping but people are still buying. It's just all about perception and how that's articulated to your client. Seeing that a lot at the moment, and I think it's you can only work to the market that you're in.
Yeah, I mean we're seeing fantastic activity in the gold dust range. So anything from sort of 500 to mil, 400 to 1.2. 500 to a mil really. Fantastic. Our pre-launch is working so well. We've got one coming on in a really good village locally for, I think it's offers over 650. Red row, like a second-hand red row. So it's like 8 years old, the house. We did our social media stuff on it this week. It not due to launch till next week. I think we've had 3 viewing requests already. So there are plenty of buyers. there's always stuff at the higher end. So we've got a couple at the minute that are listed and thatched, and they're both over $1 million. So, that kind of property is trickier to sell anyway in any sort of market. Yeah. But on the whole, there's interest across the board. We sold one last week, agreed to sell on one last week at 1.85 million, chain free. That had only been on the market for about 4 weeks. Fantastic sale for us locally. Another one the week before at 2.9 cash. That had been on the market quite a while, to be fair, but got a great result for the seller and for the buyer. It's their dream home. So really, there is an activity across the board. Of course, it all comes down to getting the price right, which is where the pre-launch comes in. Should we touch a bit on that?
Yeah, I think so. Just before I do, I want to echo what you're saying, really. I mean, we've got the same. So, well-priced gold dust range. The 8 that I mentioned there, sales from 410,000 to 900.
Yeah.
So just great houses that sell. Two of them, so I would say 2 of them are sticky stock that had price reviews and strong, realistic conversations with the homeowner. So they've been on with us for a while. If you want to sell this house, you need to adapt to the current market conditions, or you might as well take it off the market, consider renting. It's all about your circumstances, Mr. Homeowner. That's how it went. But right now, I'm telling you, with all the data that we now have, because that's the thing that a lot of people forget. I think they get nervous about approaching the client.
Yeah,
they've been out. Let's just say you valued it at 950,000, and that's what the market dictated at that time. It spends a prolonged period of time on the market. It's 2 months. It's 3 months. They do a reduction to 9, and then it's another 2 months, and they've not even had another viewing. It's not your fault necessarily. If you've got don't get me wrong, if you've got to stick it on Rightmove and hope for the best strategy, and your marketing's not very good, well, that's going to be on you. But if you can honestly say that our marketing is absolutely top notch, we are at the top of our game with our marketing and the branding, and we know you're on Rightmove, and we know you've got consistent social media exposure. We've got a network of agents that we talk to, and we've got loads of buyers that are constantly registering. You can confidently say to that homeowner, it's not the marketing, it's just the market. And we now have the benefit of experience. We can see all the data. It gets released every 6 weeks. Rightmove have everything, and they can see the trends straight away before it plays out at land registry. And we need to adapt to the market conditions. And I actually had a client contact us recently and talk about his Rightmove stats, saying, "Oh, so many people are looking at our house, but no one's booking a viewing." Yeah, it's a problem, John. It's a problem. That's the point. It's like 1,000 people have walked past your house, active buyers, and they've chosen not to go in and have a look. So something's not right, John.
Yeah.
So you can quickly turn it to price and market conditions. And I think I think some people have that mind block. They've got the wrong mindset going into it. Thinking, I know we're going to keep trying, we're going to keep doing this, we're going to keep doing the other. When actually, the answer's staring them right in the face. The market's changed. Your price is now new. It's not what it was.
Yeah.
And I think those are the conversations you need to be having. And 2 of those are the conversations that I had with homeowners within the last sort of 3 months. And now they're under offer. And guess what? They're under offer way less than what they were marketed at. But that's now
there was a house recently. There was a house recently that I went to that was on with another agent at 1.25, and I went to see it, and we had the pricing conversation. And obviously I said it was too much and showed them the data, and they ended up staying with that agent and reducing against my advice. But you can't win them all, and I think it's had something like 5 viewings and 3 offers in the space of a week. This house, just because of the price.
Yeah,
it is so true, but it really is. It's so important how you set the conversation up with the seller at the start, isn't it, on the val?
Mm-hmm.
And it cannot be your valuation. And I still hear that so much. It has to be framed in the right way and then worded in the right way on your proposal, because the seller will look at that proposal. They might look at it anyway, but if things aren't going that well, they're going to refer back to the wording you used at the start. And if it's your valuation, then they're going to blame you. So how that's framed is very, very important. And then that makes your pricing conversation much easier further down the line.
Really important. And I went to a valuation 2 weeks ago, and I was one of 5 agents to meet them. And the guy said to me, "Do you know what? I've had 5 people out, and you're the only one that's not said it's a bad market." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "All of them have said it's a bad market." Now, if you think about it, right, if you're sat there in your house and I've gone in and you said to me, "So what's the market like at the moment?" And I've gone, "Oh, it's not great, Ian." What are you going to think straight away?
I'll wait. I'll probably wait until the market gets better.
Exactly. You're going to have a complete negative opinion. I don't want to lie. So the conversation with this guy was, it's not a bad market. It's a very, very price-sensitive market. And my perception of a bad market is one where people cannot buy houses. So recession, banks are no longer lending at the levels they were. Interest rates are really, really high.
Yeah.
What people are seeing at the moment is that we've gone from 0.1% base rates of interest to 3.75 and going, interest rates are high, and hang on, they're not high.
No.
They're historically low still.
Yeah.
You'll have, certainly in the mid to higher end, the majority of the generation that you'll be speaking to will remember the early 90s when interest rates were 15% plus. And if you tell them that in the valuation, they'll nod along with you and almost laugh with you. And then, my first taste of it came probably in 2007, 2008, when we had that recession. But, my first mortgage was like 7.5%, 8%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So now to have an interest rate of 3.75%, it's actually quite sensible. It's normal. Yes, there are other economical factors that are affecting the market and affecting people's affordability. Totally understand that. You could always argue inflation. I get it. But historically, interest rates are very, very low. And I think that is the message that you need to be putting out to your homeowners, that it's not a bad market because people are not buying houses. If your perception of bad is that house prices have come down a little bit, yeah, it's a bad market then. But that's all. It's just your price has changed. That's it.
It's demonstrating that to sellers, isn't it? So on a val, we always present the data to show maybe the prices have fallen in the last 12 months in that area. A lot of them have. But then immediately we're backing that up with, that is the case. But in the last 6 weeks, we've sold these 7 houses here, John, and we flopped them all out on the table, and all the brochures are there for them to see. So you're managing an expectation from the start that the prices might have been what they were. For most people, that's relative because they're buying on in the same area. Most people are, or they're buying on in the UK, which is loosely similar. But that houses are selling, and that we've sold these 5 and 7, and these 7 and 5 of them were over marketing price. So you really should be there to deliver any negative news to the seller, but with a positive outlook, because it's totally possible to sell your property unless, as I mentioned earlier on, you've got something that's super niche. It's going to take longer. There aren't many buyers for that kind of property. On the whole, for 99% of properties, there are plenty of buyers at most prices, at most price points.
It's how it's framed. I always like to take an extreme with the homeowner when we talk about pricing. So obviously we will perhaps talk about a bit of a pre-launch, but once you get them to buy into it and understand that the market values the home, that the market dictates, it's a completely different appointment. They're not just sat there waiting for you to say what you think it's worth. And I think we all have been sat in those appointments where the homeowners sort of say, I'll wait for you to tell me what you think before I tell you what I think. And we've all had them. But the reality is the market dictates, not me and not you, Mr. Homeowner. And I think, like I say, it's just getting them to understand that and make sure that you are delivering it in a way that sets you up in the future. You're not having to backtrack.
Yes.
I got it wrong, John.
I think one thing that we've had success with on the pre-launch recently is that so many people have seen what we're doing on social. They don't know it's the pre-launch, though, until you sit down and explain it to them. They just see you on social.
Yeah.
So they'll say, oh, God, you know what? I've seen all these videos you're doing, or I've seen all this, or I've seen all that. They just think you're doing social media posts. But when you sit down with them on the val and explain it's
Exactly.
pre-launch, they go, oh, right.
It makes sense.
I had no idea that that's why you were doing it. And with a lot of them, it really resonates. But of course, that comes back to your socials and making sure you've got a great following and you're increasing your following all the time. You need to have a focus on that in your business, definitely, because it just makes the appointment so much easier. I had an absolute belter of one earlier this week. It's a house we sold. We sold this house, the guy's previous house, 6 years ago during the COVID market. So we had like 40 viewings in one day. So obviously he was well impressed with how that went, with the quality of the marketing. Since then, he's spoken to loads of people, and everyone he's spoken to is happy with us, whether they're a buyer or a seller. He's only really had positive vibes. Fast forward to now, his house is beautiful, sandstone, one rendered house with a sandstone barn behind it, beautiful views, probably 1.4, 1.5 mil. So it was a shoe-in anyway, but he had seen what we'd done on socials. He was like, oh, I just see you everywhere. And then I explained why we do it. And it's brilliant, mate. It went on so well.
The amount of times you get told, that makes total sense. It makes total sense. It's great, isn't it? Once you nail that pre-launch and you know exactly what the strategy is for it and how to deliver it, it just works. It just works, especially now in this day and age.
Yeah.
Just going back a step there when I was talking about the extremes with the homeowner, one thing I like to sort of present to them when it comes to pricing. So again, if people are talking about a bad market, so let's just say the house is worth around 700,000. We think the market dictates around 700,000, and we're thinking about pricing strategy and just about to pitch the pre-launch. And we won't know until we put it out there, John. That kind of approach. But this is what the market is sort of dictating. And then we talk about bad market, and also let's take absolute extremes in your property. The market is dictating around 700. What would happen tomorrow if we put it on the market at 500? And you'll get a look, and they'll say, "Well, I'd sell it in a heartbeat." I said, "Yeah, you'll have a stampede of people come through the door. You just have so many people come look at your house. What would happen if we put it on at 900? We get absolutely nothing." And I always say, right, well, the difference between my extreme 900 and 725 is the same thing. You cannot get this wrong, which is why we need to do a proper, thorough pre-launch strategy. Slow down. We don't need to rush it to Rightmove and waste that really important time. That first 14, 21, 28 days on Rightmove is really, really important. It is where most people will start search. We don't want to miss the boat. And if we miss the boat even by 25 grand, 50 grand, people won't see it. They just won't see it. So let me talk you through a strategy that will enable us to test the market before we actually go on Rightmove, and hopefully it'll make a lot of sense to you. Because I'm not buying a house, you're not buying your house, we're both in it together trying to sell it and get you the best possible price. And the truth is, we won't know what that is until we put it out there to the masses and see what they think. And then obviously present the pre-launch. But it just gets them thinking.
It does get them thinking, you're right. And that's the key, isn't it? And you're also really standing out from your competition massively. We've really found that by implementing the strategy with every property that we go to, it's making us stand out even further, and it helps to justify a better fee, doesn't it?
So obviously having a pre-launch strategy is key, I think, for a successful launch to market fully price-wise anyway, because Rightmove, as we know, is king. People start there. Speaking of Rightmove, we have had the latest house price index come out. We've written all our letters now. They're out, and they're going out to the public as we speak. So for those of you that are new listeners, we do quarterly market updates to our client base. So Q1 was successful. We've just done the Q2 letter, and the members are getting it out now thick and fast, getting some great results. And obviously, in between all that, obviously we've been reviewing Q2, but the latest house price index has just come out, and it always makes interesting reading. And I just wonder, if I'm honest as well, Ian, how many people in our industry use it to educate the market. Because to me, it's one of the easiest ways to manage your existing sellers that are maybe where it's drying up a little bit, activity is low. It's giving you all the information, all the ammunition that you need to go out to your sellers and tell them exactly why the house is not selling if they're overpriced. And obviously, it goes back to everything that we've discussed, pitching it correctly at the valuation and etc. But even now, you could just pick up the phone and articulate what is happening. Even send them a copy of it. It's not just me saying this. We're talking about Rightmove here, who have every single data point. They pretty much have every single buyer registered in the country. They can see the trends and they can see what's happening. And what it's showing at the moment is that asking prices are coming down. So they were down last month, and it's a larger than usual monthly price drop this time as well. It's come down 1% at this time of year. We can see the number of homes for sale is slightly below last year, but it's still at a 12-year high. And what we can see, this is another positive, is that the average 2-year fixed mortgage rate is now 4.92%. It was 5%, 5.08% last month. So what can you draw from that? Well, people telling you it's a bad market. Let's have a look at that. Asking prices are coming down. Sales are still happening. So the number of sales agreed in the first half of the year, it's 6% lower than the same period in 2025, but stock levels are higher because the price too high. And it's level with the first half of 2024. So it's not a million miles away. It's not like sales have fallen off a cliff, like 50% of houses. Sorry, we're at 50% of the levels of last year. It's 6% lower. Houses are selling. And the other spin I would like to put on that is mortgage rates have come down. So all of a sudden, your house is now more affordable to somebody looking to buy. Let's take advantage of that and make more people see it. JK talks about this a lot, but trying to get them into a different price banding that they might be a little bit more uncomfortable with, but that will generate interest. And I always say a homeowner never knows what they'll take until it's real. So if it's if they're on at 850,000 and they think that is their bottom line, your challenge is to get them in offers in excess of 800. I guarantee that if they get a good offer at 825,000, they're going to consider it, especially if you frame the market the way it is and also get them thinking about that 25,000. How's it going to affect the rest of their life? Is it actually going to affect them the way they think it might? Could they get it off the onward purchase because everybody else is in the same boat? But there's some interesting stats on there, and I think that it's a really good way for taking into your valuations and educating your market, because that's another thing, Ian. I'm finding that new instructions that are coming to the market now are selling much faster than they have previously. And it's because we now know what the market is. Yeah. And I think people are, as time has gone on, people are more accepting of it. Yeah. Because the perception is, the market's bad, isn't it, Dave? The market's bad, isn't it, Ian? And you're going, no, it's not. It's just price sensitive. So they've already got the knowledge, really. They just need it confirming and they need a strategy. So,
the more they read in the papers and see on the TV, eventually, that takes a while to drip feed, doesn't it, into their consciousness, but eventually it does. You pick up the paper this morning, not that I particularly read the newspapers much, but I was in the shop getting a coffee and you see the newspapers and it's either a negative headline about Andy Burnham and what he's going to do, or it's Trump in Iran, or, there's negativity generally every day, isn't there? And once people understand that, it makes it a lot easier, I think, to have the pricing conversation with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I think it's really important to make people understand what's actually happened. It's the housing market's not suddenly collapsed, has it?
No. No way. I mean, we're nowhere near that. It's poor. It's poor, but it's so common that other agents are talking like that. And I think you've got a really good opportunity to stand out if you can articulate things. We're doing our latest market update today. Vicky and Phil are filming this one, and we use the HPI data to talk about that on the market update, and then we send it out to all of our clients, put it on socials, send it out to any vals we're going to. It's absolutely brilliant because you articulate the data to people, and then you also tie it into locally what's happening. So we'll be saying prices have dropped, this is the data, but equally, we've sold 13 houses so far this month between 500 and 3 million. So yes, the data is showing that prices have dropped, but on the flip side, you can easily sell your house if you market it and price it correctly. And I think most agents aren't putting that information out there correctly.
Yeah, totally agree. I totally agree. And it does come down to educating your market and then articulating the data. I mean, that's what we do in the letters again. There's a national outlook, and usually, to be fair, the national sentiment is the same locally. It may be that sales are down a little bit.
Yeah.
Prices have been coming down a little bit, but it's never, ever as bad. I mean, we delve right into the micro data whenever we do the letters or whenever we're doing valuations. So it's literally right down to the number in your postcode and showing exactly what's happening in your local area. It's just so powerful because you can show what's happening nationally, what's happening locally. And then, as you've alluded to before, when you get your brochures out, stories help. They really do.
Yeah.
Not stories estate agents.
Well, we do help.
You do help. Well, you do help. Yeah. Stories help. When you can articulate how somebody else has had great success. And equally, I think I touched on this at the last mastermind, but if you've got a couple of bum properties, that are just not selling, a couple of bum properties. Could I have described that a bit better when you look to me?
We'll move on. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, a couple of stale houses.
Yes.
Where they've not been successful.
Yeah, that can help.
Yeah, of course. Explain.
And the best ones are the ones where they came on at a price that was the market suggested was correct, and we've done some pre-launch and it backed it up, and they've come on and they didn't sell, and then you can demonstrate how just by a price change onto a new price point, it sold over marketing price within a week. They're the best ones, really, because it just massively emphasizes the point, doesn't it, to the seller. And then on the flip side of that is properties where you've done the pre-launch and it's suggested the price wasn't right. You've gone on at a different price to the original price you were thinking of, and it sold within a couple of weeks. Those kind of stories are really, really, really powerful to people. And the amount of vals you go to where people will start by saying, "Market must be bad at the minute, Ian, is it? What's the Times is telling me that it's fallen off a cliff, house sales, and all these sorts of things." Well, actually, John, it isn't. This one around the corner did this, and this one did this, but having those examples to hand is very important.
Yeah, I think that it is extremely important how it's framed. We acknowledge what's going on. So you touched on it before. There's been a change in government. Change in Prime Minister. There's been a lot of political uncertainty. And you generally get people just sitting tight and waiting to see. Even yesterday, somebody I spoke to literally said, "Well, let's see what Andy Burnham does now." And he was referring to, "I'll see what happens before I put my house on the market." But people do have this mentality. Now, that's somebody that I can actually speak to and educate and say, "Look, it doesn't make a difference really, because whatever you're buying will be in the same boat anyway." But think of all the people that you don't get to speak to who are hearing this.
Yeah, exactly. That's where your market update is important.
Absolutely.
And your market update letters.
Absolutely.
You have 2 or 3 different ways of educating your audience, your market. That's very important. And of course, I know we've said this a million times, but the consistency is the key. So a quarterly letter, a monthly update. I said to you lads yesterday, we were in London, weren't we, doing a bit of filming, and I said to you how in an ideal world, we film our market updates on location. So in a pub, in a restaurant, in a cafe, in a gym, wherever, like a local, because then it also becomes a local community thing as well. So you're like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But the past 2 or 3 updates we've done them in the office because we're too busy to get a location secured and go out the office and film it. And in the office, we can do it dead quick, but we've done it. And consistency is the key.
It is. You were telling a story yesterday, if you remember, we had a bit of a laugh on camera because you couldn't get your words out, but about how, you have become, didn't you have a great story about somebody who'd got a £2 million home, they'd seen you on socials, been getting your letters, that kind of thing. Do you remember you were talking about it? And it was basically it came from the consistency of what you do.
Yeah.
And this particular person was probably on about their 6th or 7th letter.
Yes.
They've been following you on socials.
Yeah.
And then when you eventually got to meet them and said, "So where do you know us from?" And she said, "Well, you've been sending me letters for nearly 2 years.
Yeah.
And I watch all your videos on social, really like your content." They have never once engaged with you until they started thinking about selling the house, but they've been watching you from afar.
Yeah.
So they've been watching you from afar, and
that's it. So the reason we're laughing is because that's a quote from Extras.
It is. Sorry, but they've been keeping an eye on what you do. They've been getting your letters, and then they decided to call you. Think, right? So I know how much investment goes into the quarter letters. You know, it's not cheap to do. It requires consistency. Imagine if you stopped after the first one.
Yeah.
Imagine if you'd not put out the content that you've been putting out on social media.
Well, imagine if you put out the content on social media and then worried every time you did because it only got one like, or you know what I mean?
Exactly. Now let's just look at the numbers. That we know what you charge. You charge 2% plus that. That house is £2 million.
Yeah.
By not being consistent with your marketing, that'd have cost you 40 grand.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Times however many houses do you sell every year. Mm-hmm. So it's so important that you're all over this. And it doesn't take long to do. You've even got help with various different pieces of AI software now that can help you sort of put a little script together if you want.
Yeah. For the HPI, it's very straightforward to put a script together. Yeah. You've got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think this probably, well, all of this ties in really to how we can help agents at TCA. I mean, it's the way we've been talking turned into an opportunity to tell people, I think, how we can help. All this sort of stuff we can help with. You know, so many of our member agents are getting great results with fees. You know, we've got one in particular who's coming on a podcast in a couple of weeks. 2 lovely ladies, and their success they've had has been amazing, hasn't it? I mean, it's just brilliant to see.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, just to give a taster on that, they've gone from 1% fees now to what did they get last week? 1.75%.
Yeah, and they're not doing low end. You know, so that's over $1 million.
Well over, yeah, and just change the fortune. So I'm looking forward to that podcast. In fact, I don't think I'm on it, so it'll be
better,
nice, much better, and nice to listen to while I'm on a holiday. Anyway, right, I think we'll leave it there. Short and sweet today. No JK, no Michelle. It's obviously shorter because JK is not here waffling on, but he'll be back. Don't worry. Anyway, yeah, thanks for listening, guys. TCA, if you want any more information on it, about everything that we offer, we would be delighted to speak to you. So just drop us a message. For now, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Bye.